2.4, solving equations. Our learning intention to solve and transpose linear equations and find the unknown value. Our success criteria. I can differentiate between an equation and an expression. I can solve linear equations using technology, the CAS. So solving equations. An algebraic expression can be simplified, but an equation can be solved. You can't solve an algebraic equation. You can't solve an algebraic expression because it doesn't have an equal sign. It doesn't have anything that it can be. It just has terms. Whereas an equation has unknown values, you can rearrange it in terms of other values or other pronumerals, and you can give these pronumerals values and solve it. To solve an equation, you must keep it balanced. That is, you must perform the same operation on both sides of the equation. So, if you are adding 3 to one side, you need to add 3 to the other side. When solving more complex equations, you need to carefully consider the order of the operations performed on the variables. Once you have identified the order of the operations, perform them in reverse order to solve for the variable. To solve an equation with brackets, expand the brackets first. And then, for equations with variables on both sides of the equation of the equal signs, collect the variables on one side of the equation and simplify. Alright, a lot of explanations, but I'll show you step by step what I mean on the next slide. So, solve each equation. A, we have 2x minus 6 equals 14. Now what I need to do is get x by itself. I don't need 2x, I need to get x. So what I'm going to do for starters, I have 2x minus 6 equals 14. And I'm going to add 6 to both sides to get rid of this guy here. So I add 6, and I'll write it out and show you exactly what I've done. So 2x minus 6 plus 6 equals 14 plus 6. And then we simplify. So 2x minus 6 plus 6 gives us 2x. And 14 plus 6 gives us 20. From that, I need to get rid of my 2. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. 2 divided by 2. 2 divided by 2, or 2 over 2, equals 1. So that would just give me x. So I now do divide both sides by 2, and I end up with my error. I end up with 10. And that's A solved for you. B, start freaking, it's got a fraction. B, x over 3 plus 2 equals 7. Okay, so I could get rid of the 2, move that across first if I wanted to, or I could get rid of the fraction. It's not really going to make a difference. I'm going to start by getting rid of the number 2. So at the moment I've got a plus 2. So I need to find the reverse of that, and that is subtract 2. So x on 3 plus 2 equals 7. I've written out my formula, left gaps. Because it's plus 2, I need its reciprocal, which is minus 2 and minus 2. And simplifying that, I end up with x on 3 equals 7 take 2, which is 5. Almost there. I still need to get this x by itself. Now, because this side is divided by 3, so the denominator of a fraction is divided by. So x on 3 is x divided by 3. The reciprocal, or the reverse of that, is to, let's try and write properly, is to multiply by 3. So if I was to multiply 1/3 by, or x on 3 times 3, I would end up with x. And then 5 times 3, I would end up with 15. A little less daunting now that you see the answer, and you can work backwards and then go, okay, I'm not scared of fractions anymore. We can do this by hand, or we can use the CAS. we have a CAS function. I go into more detail in my CAS videos, so feel free to have a look at those. But we use the menu, the algebra menu, and then the algebra submenu. So we press our menu button, we press number 3 for algebra, number 1 for solve. If we want to pop this into the calculator, we use our solve function. It will automatically pop up with a couple of brackets. We type in our equation of 2 times x take 6 equals 14. Now, I need to solve for x. I need to find out what my value of x is. So I put a comma. That comma can be found at the very bottom left-hand side of your calculator. On the right-hand side, you've got the space bar. On the left-hand side, you've got the comma. Then I type in x. Now, do not put any spaces in. It's number, so i.e. the 14, comma, x, close bracket, and press enter. This will then solve the formula for you. So we can also use CAS to rearrange our formulas. Once you learn how to use the CAS, you become lazy calculating it yourself. But please keep working on understanding how to do this yourself, because if your CAS dies in the middle of one of your assessments, you're kind of screwed. So we can rearrange a formula. For example, if we had y equals 2x, it is currently in terms of y, with y being the subject. But I can rearrange that formula and make x the subject. Or, seeing part A here, if I had 5x plus 3y equaling 6, I can make y the subject. I'm going to show you guys how. So, 5x plus 3y equals 6. And I want y to be the subject. So at the moment I have the x and the y on one side, but I want the y on the side by itself, and I don't want the 3 attached to it. So I would put 5x plus 3y, leave a gap, equals 6, leave a gap. Grab my red pen. I'm going to start by getting rid of the 5x. Because it's a positive 5x on one side, I need to get rid of it and subtract it away. So I take 5x from both sides. Again, I'm balancing. I'm not changing anything. I'm just subtracting 5 from both sides. So my amended formula would then be 3y equals 6 minus 5x. And I still need to get rid of the number 3. So if my coefficient is 3 on one side, I then need to divide it by 3 to get rid of it. And because I divide it by 3 on one side, I have to divide it by 3 on the other side. So 3 divided by 3 gives you 1. You don't need the 1 in front of the y. So y equals 6 minus 5x over 3. And that's part A finished. Now B, y equals ax plus b. Make a the subject. So we need to find A. First step I would do is try to get rid of my B. It's often easier to get rid of the constants. You move it across and then it's out of the way. Then you work on the coefficients of the pronumeral. So let's start by getting rid of the, jumping colours again. Let's start by getting rid of the B. So we've got y equals ax plus b. We're going to take b from both sides, as we have done there. Y minus b equals ax plus b minus b. Plus b minus b gives us 0. So y minus b equals ax. And I've still got an unwanted pronumeral hanging about that a, and that's the x. In order to get rid of the x, I divide it by x and divide the other side by x. So it becomes y minus b on x equals a, and we've got a as the subject. If I wanted to put this into the CAS, I would use menu algebra solve again, and I would just type in my equation, press comma, and then put in the pronumeral that I want as the subject. So for the example A, 5x plus 3y equals 6, I would, down in the bottom left-hand corner, I would put in solve, then open my bracket, put in 5 multiplied by x plus 3 multiplied by y equals 6, comma, y, close bracket. Because I want to make y the subject. If I wanted x as a subject, I will put x there. And it would then rearrange the formula for me again. Okay, next slide. If a equals p, open bracket, 1 plus r on 100 to the power of n, then find the value of p equals a, p if a equals 4,500, r equals 8, and n equals 6. Now let me just skip through. No, we're nearing the end of our slides. Disregard the fact that there's blank ones at the end of this. I didn't get a chance to delete them. Now, in the first line, enter either 1 dot or 100 dots, so the decimal point will force a decimal answer. Okay, when I go through the CAS instructions, this will not necessarily work, but I will tell you how to find your decimal answer. Back to the manual solving of. So, one of a couple of ways. We can either rearrange the formula so that p is on one side, everything else is on the other, or we can plug in the values, find an answer, have p floating around, and then solve it. And that, I feel, is the easiest way to do it. Because otherwise you're working with fractions and powers. It gets very messy. So, a equals p, 1 plus r on 100 equals n. I'm going to put my values in, which is 4,500 equals p, 1 plus 8 on 100 to the power of 6. Now, I know that 8 on 100 equals 0.08. And then if I add 1 to that, 1 plus 0.08 equals 1.08. So at the moment I've got 4,500 equals p times 1.08 to the power of 6. My calculator likes that number better. So I've got 1.08 to the power of 6. And I've got 4,500 equals p times 1.5869. There are lots more numbers, but I'm just rounding it a little bit. So now I have two numbers and a pronumeral. So I have a constant, 4,500. I have my principal value or my principal pronumeral, and I have a coefficient, the 1.869 or 1.5869. Now, all I need to then do now is solve for p. So, because this is multiplied by 1.5 on one side, I need to divide it by 1.5 to tidy it up a bit. So, 4,500 divided by 1.5869 equals p, which is, when I solve it, 2,576. So $2,835.76. So looking at that, I can say that I invested just over 2,800 into the bank for 6 years at a rate of 8%, and I ended up with $4,500, which, if you got given the opportunity, I would say invest that, because it's actually a pretty good opportunity.